What's up, guys? It's Breakshift, and I've got another fun deck to share with y'all. This time we are using the Call of the Haunted stuff that just came out in the newest pack, and I think I've come up with some really fun stuff you can do with this. There's sort of a basic line that most people are doing with this deck, and you can do that with this build here, but you can also do a ton of other really interesting stuff. I'm definitely going to make a reference to the yesterday's gameplay meme, either in the title or thumbnail or something. And what I mean when I'm saying that is that this is a style of deck that's basically gone extinct over the last several years, which is I guess we'd call it a non-deterministic combo deck, or maybe some people would call it non-linear. But the point is that there's a large number of plays that are available to you, but you actually have no idea really which ones you'll be doing in a given duel. And that's going to be because it's highly dependent on exactly which cards you draw and, more so for this deck, what cards you mill, because we're going to be doing a lot of self-milling. So first off, just to go over the basic stuff that you can do with the Call of the Haunted cards, this guy is the star of the show, Pumpking, the King of Grave Ghosts. You can reveal him in hand, set Call of the Haunted, and then discard a card. Usually you discard him. And the set card can be activated this turn. Then you'll immediately activate the Call of the Haunted to summon him from grave. When he's special summoned, you summon any level 6 zombie from your deck except with 1950 attack, and you cannot summon from the hand or graveyard for the rest of the turn except zombies. Interesting lock. It leaves the extra deck freely usable, which is very relevant for this build. But when you summon him, the monster you summon is almost always Changshi the Spirit Owl. This card, during the main phase, you can send a zombie from your hand or deck to the graveyard. And then also, if she's banished, you can banish another zombie from grave to summon her back. So the typical play that you would do with her is you send Glow Up Bloom, who, when sent to the graveyard, banishes himself to add a level 5 or higher zombie. And at that point, he actually fully zombie locks you, cutting you off from the extra deck. And the card you would add is Stare of the Snakehair, which you can discard to add a card that mentions Call of the Haunted. So that gets you the field spell. You overlay your 6s for the new XCs, Pumpking, the Great Ghost King. On summon, he gets to add a Call of the Haunted or a card that mentions it. So then you can add this, Vortex of Time, which is like a weird negate. When the opponent activates a normal or quick play spell or a monster effect, while you control zombie and Call of the Haunted. So already we can kind of see there's a bit of an issue with this card. It only works on normal spells or quick play spells, doesn't work on field spells, continuous spells, trap cards of any kind, or a monster effect. You also have to control a zombie monster and Call of the Haunted. You can't use it during the damage step. And then what it actually does is the opponent tosses a coin. No matter what, it changes their activated effect, so they won't get to use the effect. But if they hit heads, opponent, that means us, we have to banish a monster we control, which we do not want to do. If we hit tails, they banish all monsters they control, which sounds kind of crazy, but realistically, you're mostly wanting to negate starters with this card, which means that they won't have a bunch of monsters to negate. Or otherwise, the reason that I'm playing this card is because it's a sort of pseudo called by, where the thrust of this deck is all about resolving Pumpkin. So if you use his effect in hand and then you revive him with Call of the Haunted, then when they try to like hit him with like a Veiler or an Ash or whatever, you will be able to Vortex of Time. The downside, of course, is that if you just started only with Pumpkin, and you didn't like, normal summon or anything else like that, then if you get the coin toss wrong, you'll have to banish your own monster and get rid of your Pumpkin, which cuts you off from making the rank 6. So this card is like the worst card I've ever put in my deck, and I don't know how long. I hate it, but I do think you kind of need to play it. But anyway, yeah, so you're searching this, you're searching the field spell, you've made your King of Great Ghosts. He gets to detach a material to target up to 2 cards on the field and bounce them. You'll use that to return the Call of the Haunted. Because remember that when this card leaves the field, destroy the monster, and when the monster is destroyed, destroy this card. But if you're using the monster for Xyz material, the card is not destroyed. So Call of the Haunted will just be sitting on the board. We'll be able to bounce it back to the hand to use later. When you activate the field spell, you get to set up to 3 Call of the Haunted from the deck in the graveyard. So that'll get you the other copies of Call. When you use Call of the Haunted during the opponent's turn, you're then going to get to target a monster they control and send it to the graveyard. And we'll also be ranking up Pumpking into the Undying Legion, which can just be summoned on top of a rank 6 zombie Xyz. And during the opponent's main phase, you can detach 2 or 1 if all of this card's material are Xyz. Target 1 attack position monster your opponent controls, or a monster in their graveyard, and attach it to this card. So if you've ranked this up on top of Pumpking, and Pumpking detached 1 material to bounce a card, that means that the materials underneath this are one of the monsters used for Pumpking and the Pumpking Xyz himself. So you'll have to detach both of them to put the opponent's monsters on, which means that you'll then only have 1 material, which is not an Xyz monster, so you can't use this twice if you do that line. And again, it can only target attack position monsters. You can really tell that Konami didn't want this deck to be particularly good with all these goofy restrictions they've put on these cards. Similarly, as well, during this standard line, you've put Snakehair into the graveyard, and that's a good target for Call of the Haunted, because if this card is special summoned, you can target 1 attack position. There's that same restriction again, that your opponent monster, attack position monster your opponent controls. It can't attack, its effects are negated, and you cannot use it as material for a summon. They can still tribute it or use it for like rituals, but it can't go into extra deck stuff. So that's like an okay effect. It does happen on a new chain after you revive something, so it's a bit slow, very telegraphed, kind of crappy to be honest, but you know, whatever. We work with what we've got. That is the typical Call of the Haunted line. In addition to those cards, we also have Ectoplasmic Fortification, which, if you control no monsters, adds a level 6 zombie or Call of the Forgotten. This is just another way to gain access to Pumpking, because he is our starter. And there's this other effect that you'll almost never use, but it is theoretically cool. Your zombies gain 400, that's permanent, and then you can draw cards equal to the number of Call of the Haunted you control. So theoretically, it could draw you 3 cards. That's cool. Probably never going to happen. But that is the basic line that you can do in this deck. What about the cool stuff? Well, the cool stuff is going to happen with the same initial plays, but after we summon Chang-Chi, we are not going to send Glow Up Bloom, because Glow Up Bloom locks us into zombies, and there are a lot of other things that we might want to go into in the extra deck. So instead, we're going to send some of the Skull Servant stuff. We're going to send White Baking, and when this guy's sent to the graveyard, you add 2 guys that mention Skull Servants, and then you discard a card. So we're going to add Prince and Lord. Then we will discard the Prince. When Prince is sent to the graveyard, you'll also get to discard the Vanilla and a Lady in White. And then the White Lord can be discarded from the hand to send cards from your hand or field to the graveyard. Or sorry, you send him from the hand or field to the graveyard to send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard up to the number of Skull Servants. And of course, all these guys become Skull Servant in the graveyard, so when you get rid of him, you will be able to send 5 cards. Furthermore, the 6s that we have here are going to be overlaid not into the Pumpking Xyz, but into Pilgrim Reaper, where you can detach 1 to have both players mill the top 5. So between Pilgrim Reaper and the Skull Servants, that is 10 cards that we've milled. Lots and lots of random mills. And we have a whole cavalcade of random good stuff to be milling. Most notably, of course, is the Zombie Classic Mizuki. This card is so good. Non-once per turn, banish it from grave to special summon a zombie from grave. We've got Gozuki, his brother. During the main phase, you can send a zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard. So this is a good card to revive, because then he can immediately dump another Mezuki or whatever other card you might need. And this other effect of his is also quite relevant, because you might mill him. If he's sent to the graveyard, you can banish a zombie from graveyard to summon a zombie from hand. That's very nice if we have a 6 in the hand that we want to summon, right? Like one of these Call of the Haunted cards. Furthermore, the banishing a zombie effect is nice as well, because we can use that to banish the Chang-Chi, and when she's banished, she can banish another zombie from graveyard to summon herself. Another guy that we can be banishing with these effects is Al Ghul. This guy is really neat. If a zombie you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, he can instead be banished from the hand or graveyard, so pretty good protection, and when he is banished, he summons himself. Plus, he can change his level. So that's really nice because, right, Gozuki can banish Changshi, Changshi can banish the Al Ghul, so lots of free material potentially we can get off of that. We've got Mad Mauler. This guy's pretty cool. He counts as Plague Spreader, and if he's in the graveyard, we can target a level 6 or higher monster. We've got plenty of those, of course. He reduces their level by 2, summons himself out, and then while he's on the field, he zombie locks you. That's fine. So you can use him in tandem with a 6 to summon a level 6 synchro, like Immortal Dragon, who is a tuner, and can, during the main phase, send a zombie from deck to graveyard and also manipulate his level. Plus, if a zombie monster is destroyed by battle while he's in the graveyard, he'll come back. So another way to foolish a card, we can also use him with an 8, like the Al Ghul Mazera, to make Skeletal Dragon Felgrand. Remember that we are also milling the opponent with stuff like the Pilgrim Reaper, so they will actually sometimes have stuff in the graveyard that you might want to get out of there. I ran into a good bit of Branded while I was playing this on the ladder, and it was nice to hit like their Ecclesias and stuff that I milled out of the graveyard with Skeletal Dragon Felgrand. And there's other interesting stuff you can do with him too, right? Like I've had plays where I've reduced the level of the Al Ghul Mazera to 6, so that then I could use him to make something like a Pumpking Xyz, and then instead I sync off the Mad Mauler with like a level 4 to make Immortal Dragon. Lots of fun options, various things that you can do. Obviously, we've got Unizombie. The normal Pumpkin line does not use your normal summon, so this guy is pretty much your best normal summon. He's also a great card to be reviving with the Mezuki. If you're not familiar, he has 2 effects. They're both really good. The second one is usually what you want to do, which is target a monster on the field, himself typically. You get attack locked except for zombies, but then you get to send a zombie from deck to grave to boost the card's level, so he'll become a 4, and you get to dump, whatever, Mizuki, Gozuki, anything you want. The fact that he's a 4, if we're playing the right way, we won't have zombie locked ourselves for the turn yet. Level 4 tuner, plus we have level 6s, that makes Baron, obviously. One really cool thing you can do with Baron in this deck, by the way, is trigger your Al Ghul Mazera's protection effect. He doesn't care what the source of the destruction is. You can go Baron effect, pop your own zombie monster, and then replace that with the banishing of the Mazera, and then he'll summon himself. Very cool line. I'm a big fan of that little synergy. We, of course, are playing the Keldo and the Mudora. Not only are these just very good interactions to have from the graveyard, to be able to stop the opponent on their turn, but also it can be pretty handy to use on your own cards. Remember that the field spell sets up to 3 Call of the Haunted from the deck or graveyard. So we can set these Call of the Haunted from the graveyard if need be, but then also, we have the option to like recycle them and stuff later on. We are playing the classic Doom King Baylor Drock. This guy is an all-star in the zombie deck. Of course, we do have a field spell to summon him. We aren't playing Zombie World in this build because we want to be ending with the Call of the Forgotten up instead. So we aren't going to be able to negate the opponent's effects easily with this, although he can negate stuff like Ash Blossom or if they happen to be playing other random zombies. But beyond that, he can still use his Banishing effect, which we can trigger with any of our own zombie monsters. We're also playing Army of the Haunted. This guy is a decent extender. If you control Call of the Haunted and this is in your hand or graveyard, you can special summon it. And also if it's sent to the graveyard, it can set Call of the Haunted from the grave. Not bad. So between all of these random things, we're going to end up having a lot of plays out of the graveyard. With the Baylor Drock, the Mazera, and the Skeletal Dragon as well, we have 8s. We can make Zombie Vampire to get additional mills. This is mostly important if you have not hit a Unizombie yet. It's very valuable to get Unizombie into rotation so that you can gain access to the Baron. We also have a couple other good Link monsters. We've got Yuki Onna, the Absolute Zero Mayakashi. This card is a Link 4 that requires zombies. It's really good because, first off, it negates any activated effects of the opponent's banished monsters. This is randomly nice sometimes. This was a very funny tech against Malice when that was a top deck. It'll come up every now and then, but beyond that, if a monster is special summoned from the grave or a monster effect is activated in the grave, and that doesn't matter whose monster or anything of the sort, you get to target one other face-up monster on the field, make its attack 0, and negate it. Those are permanent, by the way, and you can use this effect twice per turn. Very strong card. We can easily trigger this ourselves with Call of the Haunted. We also have a Bow, which is... You have to make this using a Fiend monster. We can do that, of course. I'm just playing the Nightmare Phoenix to be able to link off any two things to get a Fiend. What Bow does is you can, during the main phase, discard a card and then either destroy a card on the field, non-targeting, pretty good disruption, or banish herself until the end phase to summon a light or dark from the grave. We've got plenty of good lights and darks. All of the Call of the Haunted stuff is dark. This guy's a dark. Some of the zombies are earths. Unizombie is not, notably, but these Gozuki is an earth, so keep that in mind. But we also have this guy who's a very funny target, Ogdo Abyss. This is also a really good card to be reborning with Call of the Haunted during the opponent's turn. He also can summon himself by tributing 3 monsters from... we don't really want to do that, but you can. And once while he's face up on the field, you can send all monsters from field to grave, except monsters summoned from grave. Very powerful board wipe. Most of the opponent's monsters, of course, will not be summoned from grave, especially their extra deck stuff. So even though he's not a zombie, he is a fun inclusion in the deck that adds a nice big nuke effect. We've also got Flying Mary. This you can make with any 2 zombies to reborn a level 5 or higher zombie from grave by putting itself into the back row. That is a pretty useful effect. We've got Haggard Lizardos. This, of course, is mostly just being used to banish stuff out of the graveyard. This can be triggering things like Chang'Xi, and then you can just use it as link material to go into something like your Bow later. Similarly, you can banish stuff from your own graveyard with the SP Little Knight, and she's just generically good, so of course we're including her. We've got the Vampire Sucker. This is a nice link, too, to be able to make to put particular things back in the graveyard. And when a zombie monster is special summoned from either graveyard, we get to draw a card. Very easy to trigger. This is a nice way to just get a little bit of extra advantage. There are... Oh, I forgot to mention this as well. White Lord also has another effect. You can banish him from graveyard to summon a Skull Servant from the grave. This does actually matter. It's not just a free body because you're getting a level 1 body. All these guys are level 1s. And that has a number of applications, actually. You can use it with Unizombie, right? Unizombie has 2 level boosting effects. Maybe you wanted to discard a card, or maybe you just had to. You can make him a 5. 5 plus 1 is a 6, which lets you go into something like the Immortal Dragon. Also, the Glow Up Bloom, of course, is a level 1 tuner. So we can be summoning this back off of something like Mizuki, and this guy can be used in a similar fashion. You can use him, for example, with Mazera. Mazera can reduce his level down to 1, and then you can use him with the Glow Up Bloom to make an 8. If you needed to summon Felgran that way, there are just like so many interesting little things you can do with this deck. It is a ton of fun. It's also not particularly strong, though. As you might expect, being totally reliant on these kind of random effects means that the random milling, you're not consistent in the way that modern decks are. And, of course, there's not a bunch of really great ways to play into a strong established board. We're really just on, like, the bare minimum go second stuff. We've got Ash, we've got Charmy, we've got Maxi. So, going second is rough. This is a lower power deck for sure. This is like, platinum at best. When I reset to gold next season, I'm definitely going to be playing this to get out of gold because it's so much fun. Yeah, I think this is the last card I didn't mention. Just Foolish, obviously it's good. I don't need to explain that. But yeah, that's the deck. Let's check out a few of the replays I got. Fair warning. I misplay somewhat significantly, I think, in every single one of these replays because there's just not enough time for a deck like this that you're not going to be familiar with yet in Master Duel. Because you're constantly wanting to check your graveyard. Your plays take a good while to resolve. You're checking the opponent's graveyard too because you're milling them. The clock was a constant issue, but if I continue to play this deck, I'm sure that would not really be a problem anymore. I just wanted to get this out while the cards are new, and people are interested in them, because this is a blast. I've been really enjoying it. So let's take a look at our first replay here. I'm going first, and the hand is not fantastic. If they stop Snake Hair, we're toast, but lucky for us, it resolves. So we'll go ahead and add the fortification, and this will get us access to our Pumpking. So then we'll go Pumpking effect, get the Call of the Haunted, discard Pumpking, bring him back. And again, if they were to negate the Pumpking here, we'd basically be toast, but they don't. So we summon the Changshi, we send the White Baking. We did draw one of the targets already. It's not the end of the world, though, because White Prince can send from hand. So we'll just add the Skull Servant here, and then White Prince will send from the hand, as well as Lady in White from the deck. Now, it is also important that you want to make Pilgrim Reaper before you use the White Lord effect, because then we can detach Changshi, and now if we mill a Gozuki or something, the Changshi is already there to be banished. So we'll go White Lord effect next to mill, White Lord effect to summon. The opponent is on Tenpai Sky Striker. I'm going to go into the Lizardos here, and then we're going to go Lizardos banish Changshi, target himself, Changshi banish Mazera, summon her, Mazera summon himself. We'll go ahead and link those two off into the Nightmare Phoenix, and then we'll make Bow. Then we'll go Bow effect. This will put the Ogdo Abyss into the graveyard so that we can revive him later, and we're going to summon Glow Up Bloom, then use Mizuki to bring out the Pumpking. And then we can go ahead and link those two off into Sucker, and now we can trigger the Glow Up Bloom. We're going to have to zombie lock ourselves at this stage, but we've already made Bow, so that's fine. I add Army of the Haunted because that is the free summon, and then I'm going to normal the Ash Blossom. Knowing the opponent is on Tenpai Striker, I don't think the Ash Blossom is really the most important thing to keep in hand. I'd rather just have more resilience, so then I'm going to make Flying Mary and bring out the Pumpkin again, so we have 2 6s. This will get us into the Pumpkin Xyz to add Call of the Forgotten, and then we will detach to retrieve the call from hand. Now we're going to use the field spell to set 2 more Call of the Haunted, and then we will go into the Undying Legion. I'll put him in D mode, might as well, the opponent is on Tenpai after all. And you'll get to see another really cool synergy that this deck has now, which is that, remember that Call of the Haunted, if it's removed from the field, is going to destroy the monsters that it summons. But we have Al Ghul Mazera in the graveyard, which can protect from the destruction by the Call of the Haunted effect. So when he Heavy Storms me here, I'll just go ahead and activate all of my Call of the Haunted, why not? And summon out some stuff. I did summon the Ogdo Abyss, even though he won't get protected by Mazera. That was probably a mistake. He'll just go back to graveyard, but then again, maybe it's better because I have an empty zone now. He's going to activate Super Poly. Nothing I can do about that, obviously. He will get rid of my Undying Legion and the Pumpkin to just make a Garura. Just trying to clear out the board. I'm going to start drawing off of that Max C. Here's Mazera. He's got Way Where There's a Will, which will let him mulligan a little bit. He doesn't reveal anything super great, but Genroku will get him access to Tenpai plays if he didn't have that already. We did mill one of his Pydras, so it's a little bit less likely that he has a Pydra in hand. But he'll just get it off the Genroku here. We're drawing some more cards. He's going to add the Kaimen. Then he's going to normal summon Doradora. That'll get him the Chandra. And then he's going to go ahead and summon the Chandra from hand, go into Transcendent Dragion, and I don't know if this was the ideal time for this, but he said he was going to go Battle Phase, so I went ahead and summoned out the Ogdo Abyss, and that'll just get rid of everything. He'll get to draw a card off the Garura. Battle Phase, he has Kaimen, of course. Going to add Genroku. I mean, he doesn't really have a good Tenpai to have added. He could have tried to get the one that revives from grave, but we have the Shufflers in our graveyard, so we could actually beat that. And he already had to use the Genroku effect earlier, so I don't think he had anything he could add there that would actually have allowed him to keep playing. So there you go. Jeez, man, I'm thirsty after commentating that replay. I was just yapping nonstop. There's so much stuff going on constantly with this deck. I'm really enjoying it. I think this is such a fun way to play with these cards. Anyway, this time we're going second. We did draw the Fugalos, though, so that's pretty nice. Throw that out, and this guy is also on Sky Striker. So I'm just going to hold my Ash Blossom here, wait until we see something like a Engage, or Sky Striker a 0 in this case. We replace our Charmy, we Ash the 0, obviously got to keep him off of his Engage. He is going to Thrust and set Dimensional Barrier, plus one more mystery card. We draw Called by the Grave, which is pretty good to check the 0 tribute effect. And I'm going to go Gozuki, send Glow Up Bloom. This is why it's very important that you keep the Glow Up Bloom around, because you can't always do the crazy self-mill stuff. Sometimes you do actually just need to do the basic Call of the Haunted stuff. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And here is where the Vortex of Time is really nice. Since we started with the Gozuki summon here, it's actually fine no matter what the coin toss does, because we can just banish our Gozuki. Of course, we prefer to keep it. We can go ahead and use the Called by the Grave here to check the 0, like I mentioned. So we'll do that. She's not going to resolve, and then the Vortex of Time is going to stop his Widow Anchor. We get Tails, though, which is the good result, so we don't even have to banish our own guy. And then we can summon Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi is going to send the White Baking, and now we can get into the Skull Servant plays. And remember that he has that D barrier, but we're not going to need it. We are easily going to be able to put up enough damage to kill him without having to go into the extra deck. And the fact that we can pivot between not only just the Lynx and the Xyz, but also some Synchros even, means that D barrier is really not actually a huge problem for us. Pretty cool. We got one more replay here. This time, we are going first, but the opponent chose to go second, so that's always a little concerning. Again, the hand is not fantastic, but we do have a starter backed up by a Called By, so perhaps it's good enough. Ectoplasmic for Pumpking. Pumpking effect, of course, going to get our play started, getting us into the Shang-Chi. The fact that we keep having to start with Snake Hair in these replays is a bit misfortunate, because it means that we can't use it later to search the field spell, but it's not the end of the world. We'll go ahead and get our Skull Servant stuff. We drew the Vanilla, but again, it doesn't matter that much. We just discard him from hand. Go ahead and make our Pilgrim Reaper. Get our mills. We can see what the opponent is on, and he's playing some sort of Go Second branded build with Lava Golems. We're going to use the White Lord, get out our Vanilla. Make Sucker. It's going to be very easy to trigger the Sucker immediately. We milled Army of the Haunted, so get that free summon out. We draw Mad Mauler. Not a card we really want in the hand, but remember, we haven't even normal summoned yet, so we can do stuff with him. Like this, normal summon him and sync with the army to make Skeletal Dragon Felgrand. I'm gonna banish his Lava Golem, whatever, right? Might as well. We'll go into Zombie Vampire, get some more mills. I did not hit enough relevant stuff, so keep going. This time we hit the Unizombie that we can summon, very handy. We'll use him to dump Gozuki, then we'll use the Mezuki to revive the Gozuki, and then we'll use the Gozuki to send another Mizuki, and then we'll use the Mizuki to summon the Pumpking. So there's our Synchro 10. We are not locked, so we'll go for Baron. And then we're going to use the Baron effect, target Gozuki, protect with Mazera. Mazera is going to summon himself. Then we're going to use the Mad Mauler from Grave to make him a 6, and then we're going to sync with the Gozuki to make Immortal Dragon. Then we're going to use the Immortal Dragon and the Mazera to make the Pumpking Xyz, and he is going to add the Field Spell. And we're going to return the Call of the Haunted to hand. Then we're going to turn him into the Undying Legion. Then we are going to make another Link Monster into the Lizardos, and the Lizardos is going to banish Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi summon herself, banish the Ash Blossom, whatever. Probably not going to need to be reviving that later. Go go ahead and make Vampire Fascinator. Vampire Fascinator is going to bring out the Ash that we sent to the opponent's graveyard with one of our mills. And then we'll go into Yuki Onna, activate the field spell, set the remaining Call of the Haunted from the deck, and then just set the fort. So there we go. We've got Yuki Onna negates, Baron negates, Undying Legion. He's going to activate Feather Duster. I'm going to negate that. He's going to chain High Spirits, and we will Ash that. Because, of course, we could use the Mazera protection thing again if we wanted to just get some stuff out of the graveyard, but that would ruin most of my disruption. At this point, my clock was really low, so here I start to have to play real fast. He activates Albaz from hand, so I go Call of the Haunted to summon Snakehair. On the new chain, he's turn player, Albaz would activate first, and then I would be able to respond with Snakehair to negate, but he puts it in D mode, and remember that Snakehair can only activate against attack position monsters, so instead I'll use the Yuki Onna to negate him that way. He is going to summon the Cartesia, use the effect. I wanted to Undying Legion here. I had forgotten that Undying Legion is attack position only, so instead I'd have to target something from grave, and then I'm going to chain Call of the Haunted, so that I'll be able to, on a new chain, use the field spell or the Yuki Onna, depending on whatever it is we need to do. He fuses with the Mercurier from hand. He's going to make Rindbrum, and then I would go Yuki Onna target and Call of the Forgotten Send. That'll wipe out his field. And I think I literally had like 2 seconds left at this point, so I just have to toggle off. Even though we do still have Called By and Call of the Haunted, but it turns out last card in hand is Albaz, so he can't do anything anyway. And that's going to wrap up the duel. So there you go. This is my Call of the Haunted deck. Again, super duper fun. Some of the most fun I've had in months at this point, playing with new cards. Really, really enjoying this stuff. Give the deck a try if you like. Tell me what you think about it. Let me know in the comments. And I will be back with some more fun decks later. So until then, peace.